Hello there, and welcome to Andre's YouTube video for Sunday, November 25th, 2012. Well, I hope all of you out there enjoyed your Thanksgiving, and if you went out shopping either at midnight or during the day, the next day on Black Friday, I hope you found that at least successful for you, or if you went out yesterday, the day after, on what I and a member of my family referred to as Purple Saturday. Well, I didn't go out either of those 2 days. I've come to the conclusion, as I'm sure a lot of you, that, Black Friday has become something of an obsession for people. All going out on the same day, acting sometimes murderous, downright violent toward each other just to get a bargain. Now, that's a whole other conversation right there. But on Thursday night, I tuned to ABC to watch a program called Bad 25 about the 25th anniversary of Michael Jackson's 1987 album Bad. And this was done by Spike Lee. And I listened to all of the people, Greg Fillinganes and Saida Garrett, Quincy Jones, and all of these people talk about Michael Jackson. And they talked about songs like Liberian Girl, about how Michael Jackson was traveling over to Africa a lot during that time, and, how he would, literally become obsessed with every single detail of the album making. And, I always thought that Bad was just something that he made relatively quickly while he was busy doing other things. No. Bad was an album that took 3 or 4 to 5 years in the making because Michael Jackson was so obsessed with his craft. And in that case, I admired that quality. And it got me to thinking about obsession a bit. In our lives today, we tend to think of obsession as a bad thing. Tune out that obsessed person. They're mentally ill. They need to be locked up, in an institution. I mean, that's an extreme example, but I've heard a lot of that said about obsession. But, considering Black Friday and how people act on that day, and seeing Michael Jackson and having the show discuss different things about him, I came to the conclusion that there are 2 types of obsession in the world. There is the constructive type of obsession, and there is the competitive type of obsession. The 2 C's, as it were. The 2 C's. And basically, the competitive type of obsession was also illustrated earlier this morning on a PBS special where they talked to Jim Brown, famous NFL quarterback from the 60s and 70s. And he talked about the fact that in high school, college, generally any sport-oriented situation you're going to come up with, a lot of younger athletes are being conditioned from day one, not to necessarily be a good sportsman, which means sometimes actually helping your opponent, as it were, win, but more for them to win. Self-centered athletic behavior, and that's causing more and more violence and more sports-related immorality, and so on and so forth. And I agree with Jim Brown. I always have. And I think that is the root of my dislike of professional sports and competitiveness. And I think that it has a lot to do with the passage of time and its perception. I mean, I think Jim Brown said that it's only been happening recently. It's been happening since I was in junior high school. And, I'm in my 30s now, so that gives you a time frame of which to deal with. Now, in terms of the healthy kind of obsession, which I will call the constructive kind, Michael Jackson is a good example. Artists tend to be obsessive, and how many times have I seen artists be told by psychoanalysts, aren't you being a little bit obsessive? Aren't you a bit crazy? Maybe you need to have treatment or medication. But, in this obsession for their work, they create great works of art, sometimes great architecture, things that are of great use to society, come directly out of obsession. Activists, another constructive kind of obsession. You know, there are people who claim that people like Greenpeace or the famous anti-nuclear activist Dr. Helen Caldicott, who I've talked about in my videos before, as being overly obsessed characters. The fact of the matter is, that kind of obsession is actually very healthy because the end result of it justifies your obsession because you are benefiting more than one person. If you are competitive and the end result of your obsession only benefits yourself, then without any intended melodrama, you might be a very, very dangerous person one day. Such a person might actually bomb a building and hurt people. That's the negative side of obsession. And I think more and more people need to think about, the fact that there are two kinds of obsession, and there's many kinds of people in the world. And you can't lump too many people into one category. It's like Michael Jackson. People tend to think of him as being on the negative side of being obsessed. But I wouldn't say that. Black Friday, how does that relate to obsession? Well, I don't know if it's positive or negative, but that's a whole other story that I'll get into another time. But, for now, enjoy the holidays. Don't overstuff yourself on leftovers. And remember, obsession isn't necessarily a bad thing. Depends on whether it's about yourself or other people. Talk to you next time. Yes? Hold on a minute. I'll be ready in a few minutes. Hold on.
Okay.
Are you referring to going to Hannaford?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Just let me just get my and all that, and I'm fine. Check this out.